All right? Here we go. No fluff, no nonsense. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually bet on yourself? I'm not talking about dipping your toe in, or I'm talking about going all in, scared, uncertain, heart pounding, but doing it anyway. Most people spend their lives waiting for the right time, the perfect plan, the guaranteed outcome. But guess what? That moment, it's never coming. And if you don't take the shot, if you don't make the move, you will wake up one day wondering why you played it safe while life passed you by. So today, we're going to talk about risk, the kind that changes everything, the kind that forces you to stop hesitating and start living. Because the truth is, the biggest risk of your life isn't failing. It's never trying at all. Betting on yourself is the single most important decision you will ever make. It's the moment you stop waiting for permission, stop doubting your ability, and start believing that you are capable of doing something extraordinary. Most people never reach their full potential, not because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity, but because they refuse to back themselves. They hesitate, they second guess, and they let fear convince them that they're not ready, not good enough, or that someone else is more qualified. But the truth is, no one is coming to save you. No one is going to suddenly hand you the confidence, the plan, or the green light. That has to come from you. When you bet on yourself, you are making a commitment to take action despite uncertainty. You're saying, I trust myself enough to figure it out. That doesn't mean you have all the answers, that you won't fail, or that it will be easy. In fact, it means the opposite. Betting on yourself means walking straight into the unknown, accepting that you will stumble, that you will face setbacks, and that there will be moments where everything in you wants to quit. But you keep going anyway, because you understand that progress is built through persistence, not perfection. One of the biggest obstacles people face when it comes to betting on themselves is the fear of failure. They think, what if I try and it doesn't work? What if I look stupid? What if I lose everything? But let's flip that for a second. What if you don't try? What if you spend your entire life wondering what could have been? What if staying where you are is the real risk? Because that's the truth. The cost of inaction is far greater than the cost of failure. When you fail, you learn, you grow, and you become stronger. When you do nothing, you stay stuck. You reinforce the belief that you're not capable. You make it harder to take action the next time. It's important to understand that betting on yourself doesn't mean making reckless decisions. It's not about quitting your job with no plan, investing all your money into a wild idea, or taking risks without thinking them through. It's about taking calculated risks. It's about trusting that you can learn what you don't know, that you can develop the skills you need, and that you have what it takes to handle whatever challenges come your way. The people who succeed in life are not the ones who have it all figured out before they start. They're the ones who start before they feel ready. They take the leap and they build their wings on the way down. Another reason people struggle to bet on themselves is that they're waiting for external validation. They want someone to tell them they're good enough, smart enough, talented enough. But if you're waiting for someone else to give you permission, you'll be waiting forever. The most successful people in the world didn't wait for approval. They didn't need someone else to believe in them first. They decided to believe in themselves, and that belief became the foundation for everything they built. You have to do the same. You have to be your own biggest supporter. That doesn't mean you won't have doubt, but it does mean that when doubt creeps in, you don't let it win. You remind yourself that every person who has ever accomplished anything great started exactly where you are, unsure, afraid, and full of questions. There will always be reasons to play it safe. There will always be excuses to stay where you are. But nothing changes until you change. Betting on yourself means making the decision every single day to push forward even when it's uncomfortable. It means taking action before you have all the answers, trusting that clarity comes through action, not before it. It means being willing to do the work, to fail, to get back up, and to keep going. Because at the end of the day, the only person responsible for your success is you. So the question is, are you willing to take that chance? Are you willing to bet on yourself, to push past fear, and to step into the life you were meant to live? Because if you are, everything changes. You stop waiting, you stop hesitating, and you finally start becoming the person you were meant to be. Fear and uncertainty are the biggest roadblocks standing between you and the life you want. They are the invisible chains that keep you stuck, replaying the same thoughts, making the same excuses, and avoiding the risks that could change everything. The problem isn't that fear exists, it always will. The problem is how much power you allow it to have over your decisions. Most people believe that they need to feel ready before they take action, that the fear needs to go away before they can move forward, but that's a lie. If you wait until you feel fearless, you will never start. The people who achieve incredible things don't do so because they are fearless, they do it because they act despite their fear. Fear and uncertainty come from the same place, the unknown. Your brain is wired to protect you, to seek safety and predictability. That's why the moment you think about stepping outside your comfort zone, your mind starts running through worst-case scenarios. What if I fail? What if people judge me? What if I make the wrong choice? This mental resistance isn't a sign that you shouldn't move forward. It's a sign that you absolutely should. Growth only happens in discomfort. If you're not feeling some level of fear and uncertainty, it means you're not pushing yourself hard enough. Staying in your comfort zone might feel safe, but it's also where dreams go to die. The truth is, the discomfort of fear is temporary, but the regret of never trying, that lasts forever. Think about all the times you wanted to do something, start a business, go after a big opportunity, speak up, take a risk, but you hesitated. You let fear and uncertainty talk you out of it. And then what happened? Days, months, maybe even years passed, and you were in the exact same place wondering what could have been. Feeling of regret, that frustration with yourself, is worse than any failure you could ever experience. Because failure teaches you something. Fear only keeps you stuck. One of the biggest mistakes people make when dealing with fear is trying to rationalize it away. They think if they analyze every possibility, if they overthink every scenario, they can somehow eliminate uncertainty and make the perfect decision. But that's not how it works. The more you overthink, the more you convince yourself to stay where you are. Instead of making progress, you paralyze yourself with doubt. The way to overcome fear isn't by thinking, it's by doing. The second you take action, the fear loses its power. Your brain stops spinning in endless what-ifs and starts focusing on the present. And suddenly, the thing that seemed terrifying isn't as bad as you imagined. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's moving forward with fear still in the room. Every successful person you admire has felt the same fear and uncertainty that you do. The difference? They didn't let it stop them. They took the job they didn't feel 100% ready for. They launched the business before they had all the answers. They stepped onto the stage even though their hands were shaking, and because they acted, they built confidence. That's the secret most people don't realize. Confidence doesn't come before action, it comes from action. You build it by proving to yourself over and over that you can handle the unknown. Another key to overcoming fear and uncertainty is shifting your focus. Most people focus on everything that could go wrong. They play out disaster scenarios in their minds, convincing themselves that taking a risk will lead to failure, embarrassment, or disaster. But what if you flip that? What if, instead of focusing on what could go wrong, you focused on what could go right? What if you asked yourself, what if this works? What if I succeed? What if this decision changes my entire life for the better? Because the reality is, both outcomes are possible. And the one you focus on will determine your next move. Fear and uncertainty will never fully go away, but they don't have to control you. The more you push through them, the more you realize they were never as powerful as you thought. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to feel fully ready. You just have to take the first step. The more you take action, the more you break the cycle of hesitation. And with every step forward, fear shrinks, confidence grows, and you start to realize just how powerful you really are. The idea of the perfect moment is one of the biggest illusions that holds people back from taking action. It's the excuse that feels logical, safe, and even responsible. I'll start when I have more time, or I'll make my move when I have more money. I'll take the risk when I feel ready. This kind of thinking is comforting because it makes procrastination feel justified. It tricks you into believing that waiting is the right thing to do. But in reality, waiting for the perfect moment is just fear in disguise. It's a way of avoiding the discomfort of uncertainty and risk. The truth is, there is no perfect moment. There never has been, and there never will be. There will always be an excuse, always be an obstacle, always be a reason to wait. The timing will never be 100% right. The conditions will never be flawless, and you will never feel fully ready. That's because readiness isn't something you wait for, it's something you create through action. The people who achieve great things don't wait until everything is aligned. They start when things are messy, when they're uncertain, when they have doubts. They start before they feel ready, and in doing so, They build the experience, confidence, and skills that eventually make them ready. Think about how much time you've already spent waiting. How many ideas have you had that you never pursued? How many opportunities have you let pass by because you told yourself the timing wasn't right? And now, looking back, do you wish you had just started? Do you wish you had taken the chance instead of convincing yourself to delay? Most people spend their entire lives waiting for a sign, waiting for motivation, waiting for someone to tell them it's time. But while they wait, life moves forward. The clock doesn't stop. And every day spent waiting is a day lost. One of the biggest problems with waiting for the perfect moment is that it conditions you to be passive. Instead of taking control of your life, you become a spectator. You convince yourself that external factors dictate your future, your circumstances, your finances, your responsibilities. But the reality is, the perfect moment isn't something you wait for, it's something you create. You create it by making a decision, by taking action, by pushing forward despite uncertainty. The sooner you realize this, the sooner you take back control. Another lie people believe about the perfect moment is that once it arrives, everything will be easy. They think that once they have more money, more time, or more confidence, the path will be clear and success will be guaranteed. But that's not how it works. No matter when you start, you will face challenges. There will be obstacles, failures, and setbacks. That's just part of the process. The difference between people who succeed and those who don't isn't that they waited for the right moment, it's that they started despite the wrong one. Action creates momentum. The second you stop waiting and start moving, everything changes. Even if you don't have the perfect plan, even if you're unsure of the next step, moving forward gives you clarity. You learn by doing. You adjust as you go. You build the skills, knowledge, and experience you need by being in the game, not by standing on the sidelines. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to start. Waiting breeds doubt. It reinforces the belief that you're not ready. But action builds confidence. Action rewires your brain to see yourself as someone who does instead of someone who hesitates. So the question is, how much longer are you willing to wait? How many more excuses will you allow to hold you back? How many more years will you let slip away while telling yourself someday? Because someday is not a real date, it's a trap. And the only way to break free from it is to stop waiting and start now, right where you are with what you have, even if it's messy, even if it's uncertain, even if you feel like you have no idea what you're doing. Because once you take that first step, you'll realize that the perfect moment was never something you had to wait for. It was something you had to make. Hesitation is the silent killer of dreams. It sneaks in under the disguise of careful planning, waiting for the right moment, or needing more information before taking action. But what hesitation really does is keep you stuck. It keeps you trapped in your thoughts, spinning in endless cycles of doubt and what-ifs, convincing yourself that you need just a little more time before you're ready. And before you know it, days turn into months, months turn into years, and you're still standing in the same place, wondering why nothing has changed. The real reason people hesitate isn't because they don't know what to do, it's because they're afraid of failing, afraid of looking foolish, afraid that they'll make the wrong choice and regret it. But here's the truth. Hesitation doesn't protect you from failure, it guarantees it. Because the only way to truly fail is to do nothing at all. Or every person who has ever accomplished anything great did so because they acted before they had all the answers. They made decisions without certainty, they moved forward despite their fears. They understood that clarity doesn't come from thinking, it comes from doing. One of the biggest lies people tell themselves is that hesitation is just being responsible. They convince themselves that waiting is the smart thing to do, that they're just being cautious and weighing all their options. But what they're really doing is hiding. They're using hesitation as an excuse to avoid the discomfort of taking action, because action means stepping into the unknown. It means risking failure. It means being vulnerable. And that's terrifying. But do you know what's even scarier? Waking up one day and realizing you let your entire life pass you by because you were too afraid to take a chance on yourself. The more you hesitate, the more power you give to fear. Every time you delay making a decision, you reinforce the belief that you're not ready, that you're not capable, that you're not enough. And over time, that belief becomes your reality. You start to see yourself as someone who waits instead of someone who acts, someone who watches instead of someone who creates. But the truth is, you are more powerful than you think. You have everything you need right now to take the first step. You don't need more time, more information, or more confidence. You just need to decide. Hesitation is like standing at the edge of a cold swimming pool, dipping your toes in the water, and telling yourself you'll jump in once it feels comfortable. But that moment never comes. The only way to overcome the fear is to stop thinking and just jump. The second you do, your body adjusts. The water isn't as cold as you imagined, and suddenly you're swimming. The same principle applies to life. The second you take action, your brain shifts from fear to problem solving. You stop overanalyzing and start doing. And the thing that seemed so scary before, it's not so bad after all. The key to breaking free from hesitation is understanding that action doesn't require confidence, it creates it. Confidence isn't something you magically wake up with one day. It's something you build by proving to yourself over and over that you can handle whatever comes your way. The more you act despite fear, the stronger you become. The more you push through hesitation, the less control it has over you. And eventually you realize that you don't need certainty to move forward, you just need courage. So the next time you catch yourself hesitating, stop. Don't overthink it. Don't analyze it to death. Or just take the first step, even if it's small, even if it's messy, even if you have no idea what comes next. Because movement creates momentum. And once you start, everything changes. You stop doubting and start believing. You stop waiting and start creating. You stop hesitating and start living. And that, more than anything, is what will separate you from the person you used to be and the person you are meant to become. Risk is not the enemy, it's the catalyst for growth. Most people spend their entire lives trying to avoid risk, believing that safety equals success. They play it safe in their careers, relationships, and personal goals, hoping that by minimizing uncertainty, they can maximize control. But here's the truth: avoiding risk doesn't protect you. It limits you. It keeps you trapped in the same patterns, the same routines, the same version of yourself you've always been. Growth, real, meaningful, life-changing growth, only happens when you step into the unknown and challenge yourself in ways that feel uncomfortable. The fear of taking risks is deeply rooted in our need for security. We are wired to seek stability, to avoid danger, to choose the familiar over the uncertain. But the problem is that comfort zones, while safe, are also stagnant. They don't allow for progress. They don't stretch you, challenge you, or force you to become better. They keep you exactly where you are, even if where you are isn't where you want to be. And yet, so many people convince themselves that staying where they are is the smart choice. They tell themselves, I'll take the leap when I'm ready, or now just isn't the right time, but deep down, what they're really saying is, I'm afraid. The truth about risk is that it's never as scary as your mind makes it out to be. The brain has a way of exaggerating worst-case scenarios, making failure seem catastrophic when, in reality, it's just a stepping stone. Think about all the things you once feared that turned out to be nothing. The job interview you were terrified of, you got through it. The tough conversation you kept putting off, it wasn't as bad as you imagined. The moment you step into risk and take action, fear loses its power. You realize that most of the things holding you back were just stories in your head, not actual barriers in your way. Risk is also the birthplace of opportunity. Every major success story you've ever heard, whether it's an entrepreneur building a company from nothing, an artist putting their work into the world, or an athlete pushing past their limits, exists because someone took a risk. They put themselves out there. They bet on an uncertain outcome. They didn't have a guarantee of success, but they took the leap anyway. And because they did, doors opened that never would have opened otherwise. That's the thing about risk. It exposes you to new possibilities. It puts you in motion. And once you're in motion, life starts responding to you in ways you never expected. Taking risks doesn't mean being reckless. It doesn't mean diving into something blindly without any preparation. It means making calculated moves. It means weighing the potential outcomes, understanding the challenges, and deciding that the potential reward is worth the discomfort of uncertainty. Smart risk takers don't ignore fear. They acknowledge it and move forward anyway. They recognize that every big decision carries some level of uncertainty, but they trust in their ability to adapt, to figure things out along the way, and to handle whatever comes next. One of the biggest mindset shifts you can make when it comes to risk is redefining failure. Most people avoid risk because they're afraid of failing. They see failure as proof that they weren't good enough, that they made the wrong choice, or that they should have played it safe. But failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of it. Every time you fail, you learn. You gain experience, insight, and resilience. You develop skills that you wouldn't have gained if you had never taken the risk in the first place. And most importantly, You build the confidence that comes from knowing that you can survive failure, get back up, and keep going. The biggest risk you can take in life is not taking any risks at all. It's waking up one day and realizing that you played it so safe, so small, that you never actually lived, or that you never pursued the things that set your soul on fire because you were too afraid of what might go wrong. Regret is far worse than failure. The pain of looking back and wondering what could have been if only you had been brave enough to take the leap is far greater than the temporary discomfort of stepping into the unknown. So ask yourself, what's the risk you've been avoiding? What's the move you know you need to make but keep putting off because it feels scary? What's the dream you've been postponing, waiting for the right time that never seems to come? Whatever it is, stop waiting. The only way to grow, to evolve, and to create the life you want is to take the risk. Because when you do, you'll realize that everything you've ever wanted is on the other side of fear. The most powerful decision you will ever make is to bet on yourself. Everything in your life, your success, your happiness, your growth, comes down to one thing: whether or not you believe in your own potential. Most people don't. They doubt themselves, play small, and wait for permission. They let their past define them, let their mistakes haunt them, and let the opinions of others shape their future. But here's the truth: no one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you the life you want. If you want something, you have to decide that you are worthy of it and go after it with everything you've got. That starts with believing in yourself before anyone else does. The biggest mistake people make is looking for external validation before they take action. They wait for someone to tell them they're good enough, smart enough, or talented enough before they go for their dreams. But waiting for permission is a losing game. If you don't believe in yourself, why would anyone else? Confidence doesn't come from outside approval. It comes from within. It comes from making a choice every single day to show up for yourself, to take action despite fear, and to refuse to let self-doubt dictate your future. Betting on yourself means taking full responsibility for your life. It means recognizing that where you are right now is a direct result of your past decisions, and where you go next is entirely up to you. That level of accountability is terrifying for some people because it removes all excuses. You can no longer blame your circumstances, your upbringing, or the people around you. You have to own your choices. But once you do, you realize something incredible: you also have the power to change everything. When you stop making excuses and start taking control, doors start to open. Opportunities appear. You stop waiting and start creating. One of the hardest parts of betting on yourself is dealing with self-doubt. That voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough, that you're not ready, that you'll probably fail, that voice will never go away completely. But you don't have to listen to it. The key is to recognize that self-doubt is just a habit, a pattern of thinking that has been conditioned over time. And like any habit, it can be broken. Every time you take action despite your doubts, you weaken their hold on you. Every time you push forward instead of giving into fear, you prove to yourself that you are capable of more than you think. Another challenge of betting on yourself is that not everyone will support you. The moment you decide to step up, take risks, and chase your dreams, you will encounter resistance. Some people will doubt you, others will criticize you, and some may even try to hold you back, not because they want to hurt you, but because your courage reminds them of their own fears. Your willingness to take a chance on yourself forces them to confront the fact that they've been playing it safe. And rather than face their own limitations, they'll try to make you doubt yourself instead. This is where most people give up. They let the fear of judgment stop them. But you have to remember, other people's opinions are not your responsibility. Your life is yours to live. And the only regret that matters is the one you'll feel if you never try. Betting on yourself also means embracing failure as part of the process. People who don't believe in themselves see failure as proof that they weren't meant to succeed. But people who do believe in themselves see failure as feedback. They use it to learn, adjust, and grow stronger. Every successful person you admire has failed, probably more times than you can count. The difference is they didn't let failure define them. They didn't take it as a sign to stop. They took it as a lesson and kept moving forward. That's the mindset you need if you want to create the life you dream of. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be relentless. Betting on yourself is about making a decision to trust yourself, to stop waiting, to stop looking for permission, to stop making excuses, to step into the discomfort of growth and go all in on your own potential. Because if you don't, who will? If you don't believe in yourself, how can you expect anyone else to? Everything you want, every goal, every dream, every breakthrough starts with one thing: your belief in yourself. And the moment you make that choice, everything changes. At the end of the day, your life is shaped by one thing: the choices you make. You can choose to wait, hesitate, and play it safe, or you can choose